Welcome to this Freaky Friday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. Top of the hour, high noon Eastern here in New York. And we are high atop Midtown Manhattan at Newsmax headquarters today. Coming to you as we do every day, noon to 1 Eastern from the Question Tequila Studios. And downtown New York at the New York Stock Exchange, a little bit of a recovery today. The market's up a bit. Still holding that 27, about 27.3 as we speak. I hope it closes above 27. I think it will today, unless something crazy happens with Iran. But that could mean very good things for next week. And this morning, I checked in with my U.S. dollar specialist. The Godfather is his nickname. And today they're telling me that most people are expecting a 25 basis point cut on July 31st by the Fed chair. I think it may be 50. We talked last week about how global shipments are down. Consumer spending seems to be down globally. May give the chairman enough air cover to go down by 50 basis points, make the president happy, get Trump off his back, and the markets will take off. Anything less than 25 basis points will be a terrible tremor for the market, and it should go lower. Bitcoin continues to recover and consolidate above the 10,000 level, 10,300, up a couple bucks today. And keep your eye on that. There's a lot of news out there with Facebook and other coins are disintegrating. There may be a flight to safety in Bitcoin that could move it back to up to that 13 range. But there's definitely a trap door under 10 where it could drop quick. So stay nimble, stay alert. And don't forget to make sure when you're buying stuff like this, it's suitable for you and you know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing because every day I make sure to have right at my side my co-host and managing editor, Frank Morano, joins again. Frank, good afternoon.
Good afternoon for those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to everywhere else in the country.
So what's happening today? So much stuff in the news. You know I get excited when I see Hope Hicks' name on my rundown, but I'm sure she's not going to be here today.
Well, you never know. Things are quite unpredictable on Liquid Lunch, as people will find out throughout the rest of the day. But Hope Hicks is at the very heart of one of the stories that I'll be speaking frankly about. Newly released court documents show Donald Trump's former lawyer and a Trump aide discussed a hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels only weeks before the 2016 election. The documents also show that Trump joined the call. Unredacted search warrants and documents in the Cohen case were released by government prosecutors yesterday. Look for more sparks to fly between Democratic presidential hopefuls Joe Biden and Kamala Harris at the next debate. The two will share the same debate stage on July 31st, along with 8 other candidates, including Cory Booker and Tulsi Gabbard. On July 30th, the first of the two-night debate, Bernie Sanders will share the stage with Elizabeth Warren and Pete Buttigieg, among others. And finally, President Trump is hopeful about getting a deal to raise the debt ceiling. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin is pushing Congress to authorize a debt ceiling hike before the August recess. At the White House yesterday, the president ripped his predecessor. He said the federal debt skyrocketed during President Obama's tenure. He argued that Obama doubled the debt, and that's what we got stuck with. The debt ceiling is expected to be hit in the fall and threatens the nation's borrowing authority. So that's what's happening, John. I do wish that President Trump would not beat up on President Obama as much. See, there are only 6 living people, actually now I guess it's 5, that know what it's like to sit behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. And by alienating all of his predecessors, he really is missing out on taking advantage of a substantial resource, because what we've seen throughout presidential history is presidents in both parties taking advantage of their immediate predecessor and the guy before them. And I get that this is what Trump's base likes, but I gotta tell you, I think he is really making a huge tactical mistake by doing so.
I think he'd be making a tactical mistake if he took any advice from Obama. I mean, we were in a terrible, in my view, from an economy, from a global economy, we're in a terrible place under Obama. Pushed us towards socialism, nationalizing healthcare. And the economy is booming right now. And Barack Obama's never been kind to Donald Trump since the very beginning. I mean, he was courteous like he had to be, went with the pomp and circumstance, with the handover and the handshake. But he's been out there on the campaign trail and after, kind of not saying great things about Trump. So I don't know why Trump should respect him when he doesn't respect Trump.
Look, I'm not saying respect. He could dislike Obama. He could do whatever he can to reverse Obama's policies. It's the public berating that I don't think serves his agenda well. President Clinton, for instance, he ran against George Bush. You could bet George Bush didn't have warm feelings towards him, but he really used George H.W. Bush as a resource. Same thing with George W. Bush using Bill Clinton as a resource. Same thing with Harry Truman. He and the Roosevelt administration ran against Herbert Hoover, and then when he needed to reorganize the White House and feed people in the aftermath of World War II, who did he turn to? He turned to Harry Truman, because the presidency is unlike any job in the world, and there's only 4 or 5 other people on the planet that know what it's like to have the power and deal with the same world leaders.
Well, how's Jimmy Carter doing with that whole presidential fraternity thing when he goes on national television and says that Trump should be impeached?
You know what?
I mean, that's one president to another. Like, is there any dignity left in the office?
I'm not here to defend Jimmy Carter or Barack Obama. I just don't see tactically.
2 of the worst presidents of the last century, in my view. And
I don't see tactically how this helps.
Donald Trump was a disruptor from the beginning. He came into this whole thing and disrupted.
You're right.
He blew up the Republican Party. He disposed of 17 people. Then he blew up the Democrat Party. And I don't think anybody showed him any love whatsoever from the beginning. So
Nixon, and this is the last comparison I'll make, but Nixon, when he came into office, he developed a special phone line so that former President Lyndon Johnson, different party, a guy that he accused Nixon of sabotaging the Vietnamese peace process while he was a candidate, he had a special phone line that Johnson could call him up anytime, and a special staffer dedicated to servicing Lyndon Johnson's calls at all times. So the point is, it's not that you have to like the guy. It's not that you have to agree with his policies. It's that he knows what it's like to deal with the generals that you're dealing with, to deal with the world leaders, and to have the awesome responsibility. And as you saw with Johnson taking advantage of Eisenhower's expertise, sometimes that helps. And Kennedy, in the aftermath of the Bay of Pigs.
You had made your last comparison.
I did.
And then you added on 2 more on top of it. But
done.
He's so good. He's such a good presidential historian.
The way they slip in borrowing under the debt ceiling.
And other things. So I guess that's a great segue into Trump's newest hopes and dreams that you talked about. He wants a debt ceiling.
So he wants it raised, and this is why he was blaming President Obama for, and rightly so, doubling the national debt during his tenure. I don't understand why we even have a debt ceiling anymore.
I don't either. It's a joke.
I mean, it brings the stock market and the credit markets and the bond markets to the brink of chaos every 6 months. Let's just do away with it. It gets raised every quarter anyway.
We're printing money like drunken sailors constantly. And the printing money, we issue bonds, we sell them to China, Japan, all these other countries. We borrow that money against, and we keep printing money. So debt is a foreign instrument to the government. So I don't know why they would keep measuring it. The clock, I think, in New York over here ran out of spaces.
That's
so
true.
When the clock that's counting the debt ceiling runs out of digits, maybe it's time to forget the whole thing.
Well, John, I know you're going to be relieved that the debate stage is set for this next round of debates, this time on CNN. You're going to see Joe Biden versus Kamala Harris Part 2, and Bernie and Elizabeth Warren mix it up in round 1.
Wow, that's pretty nice. Did Bill de Blasio or a.k.a. Warren Wilhelm make the...
He did, believe it or not.
He did, with just a measly $1 million raised. He met all the components.
He did.
That's what I hear. I think it's a joke that they still have all these people. I didn't see the full list this morning. Marianne Williamson.
She's in.
She's in. Okay. That's my dark horse.
Yeah, the 5 that didn't make it, you got Mike Gravel, you got Joe Sestak, you got the mayor of Myanmar, Florida, and then 2 other people.
Okay, so I don't think anybody is really that heartbroken over them. My expectation is Kirsten Gillibrand and Bill de Blasio will probably get bounced off by the next stage. And maybe, the 2 of the 3 of them, Marianne Williamson, Joe Sestak, and Mike Gravel, will probably get bounced off by the next stage. And maybe, 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 I'm asking Frank to help me. We want to reach out, write an open letter to Governor Cuomo. And maybe Governor Cuomo can tell the people of New York, 77% of New Yorkers have said that they do not want him running for president. He should not be running for president. So the slimmest minority of New Yorkers, about 20%, want him to run for president. The other 77% of us are hoping that he comes back and takes care of our city like he promised, or Governor Cuomo could say, here's what would make me remove him, and then let's start an effort to get him removed.
Well, and you know what? The case that you make for removal, people may think you're trying to score some cheap political point, but there's actually some serious merit to it, because as we pointed out on this show, and as the publication The City pointed out, they have spent so far $100,000 of taxpayer money feeding and lodging the police officers that are guarding Mayor de Blasio, the First Lady, and their family, whereas you compare that to Mayor Pete Buttigieg of South Bend, Indiana, even though he has a much smaller town, and even though he's raised a lot more money, he's paying the cost of his own security detail. He's not asking the taxpayers of Indiana to pick it up for him.
Forget about that. First of all, it's a manpower resource drain. Like, why do we need our cops there? We need our cops here in New York City to fight the homeless crisis, the drug crisis, and all this other stuff, or at least help with these crises. And we need our mayor in town. Like last week, there was a major emergency. He's nowhere to be found. People kind of know. The thing is, it's on autopilot right now, and the capital of the world should not be on autopilot. We should have somebody running the show. And the other day, Corey Johnson and public advocate Jumani Williams got up there in the crisis management center. It looked good, but the mayor is nowhere to be found. And maybe Governor Cuomo will help us.
He did manage.
He hates de Blasio anyway.
Well, that certainly seems that way. But he did manage to spend a few minutes in New York City yesterday to meet with the family of Eric Garner, never missing an opportunity to grandstand or to take a shot at President Trump. And got to give a shout out to Governor Cuomo, who managed a fair amount of grandstanding himself and a fair amount of Trump bashing himself in the aftermath of this Officer Daniel Pantaleo decision by the Justice Department not to charge him. So de Blasio is now revamping all of the city's processes to make it easier to fire police officers.
He misses the 9/11 memorial. He misses the funeral of one of the first responders who was fighting and advocating for the Victims' Compensation Fund, but he makes sure to make it to meet with Eric Garner's parents. The guy is missing in action. You don't be missing in action. You stay right there. We'll be right here. Coming up after this, we're going to mix it up.